Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event with your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
the Guru back again for UFC London. We've got Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Sean Brady, Philly's own, out in London at the O2 Arena, rocking my bully shirt because, you know, I'm hoping Saturday looks rocky for Mr. Rocky Edwards. But before we can get into these fantastic fights, we've got a very, very special guest in the building. Make sure you check out his Big Brain MMA podcast, Big Steve himself. Aussie! What's up, brother?
Wow, I don't think I can match that
Yes,
energy
you
for the
can.
rest of
Let's
the
go,
show.
baby.
Wow, very nice.
Cheers.
I'm impressed by that intro. Has that been going on for a while? I never catch the
If
intro.
the show is famous for anything, it's for the Guru's crazy intros.
Oh, wow.
honestly, for real.
And,
That's nice,
and
man.
TB's terrible nicknames.
Yes, exactly. There's multiple things.
That's very
people
good.
come for.
That's very good. I'm impressed by that. Maybe I will turn up the energy slightly just to show how much I appreciate that.
Oh, love that.
Your shade's got most of the energy, so it's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve, in the building, making his debut. Thanks so much for being here, dude. And thank you all so much for being here at a special start time here, 7:15. Had to help the Aussie out. You know, if he's making it work on a 14-hour time zone difference, then we can make it work for a few minutes for him.
That's right. We will
accommodate.
accommodate.
Sorry, I'm responding to Dixon.
What did Dixon say?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the rules. If you don't know, now you know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And apparently, me and Lucrative MMA have no difference in accent whatsoever. So
Not at all. Apparently. Be that person. Be like Forrest. Be like, I don't know, be like whoever you want to be, but be the person that smashes the like button right now. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Costs you absolutely nothing, I promise. Unless you want to you could always donate, but we don't require it. You could join us live every Thursday. We have an
Last week we went crazy with the donos. Crazy.
Yeah,
so if anybody out here wants to pull a Daz or pull any of our wonderful other guests that have donated over time here, feel free to do so because we love it.
We would never say no.
We do not.
But anywho, what you people really came here for is the main event, right? We're going to start right at the top. It's UFC London Fight Night, right? Ooh.
In it.
Well, we're about to find out, bruv. Leon Rocky Edwards plus 130. Sean the Bull Brady at minus 155. Over 4.5 minus 215. The under 4.5 plus 165. As I go to update the lines from the previous week, I kind of use the same template. I changed the photos, I changed the names, but the lines were exactly the same, essentially, as when we did the breakdown show last week for Delize Vittori, both the money lines and the over-unders.
Wow.
And I don't know, Guru, I feel like you have had the earliest, strongest take on this fight out of the two of us, so I'm curious to know, before I ruin any of your analysis, where are you at on this fight, my friend?
You know, in a card that I definitely... honestly, just be honest, I do need to do more research on. I've been very distracted this week with March Madness. This was a fight I did feel quite confident in. And again, maybe I'm just a Leon Rocky Edwards hater, but I really do like Sean Brady in this spot. I like his wrestling game. I think what's more important than just Leon Edwards' takedown defense, which is what we talk about all the time, is the get-up game. The get-up game is what the problem is. He lays on his back like a turtle, and he does not get up. And the problem is if you're going to try to explode and get up or use his athleticism as opposed to technique, Sean Brady will sub you. So he hasn't fought. I mean, I was going to say this level of grappler, but I mean, this level of jiu-jitsu practitioner, I would say. I mean, he's getting Kamaru Usman at the tail end, busted up knees. I mean, the dude was at the end of his rope there. And let's be honest, right? First fight is a shelling till the head kick. And then, of course, the second fight was close enough. So I like Sean Brady here. He's only lost to Bilal Muhammad, who just gave the blueprint to Sean Brady on how to do this. Sure, Sean Brady's not as good a striker as Bilal and maybe not as good as a wrestler, but I think he will be proactive enough in the grappling to get the takedowns. And I don't expect Leon to get up enough. So it could be a minutes versus moments type thing. But I don't know. I do like Brady as the minute winner here. It's because I just think he's going to be relentless trying to get it on the feet. If he's just following him around the cage, which I guess if you're a Leon Edward supporter, you're expecting tons of footwork and it to be a bull and matador type situation. Shout out to TB's nickname on the Bull Brady. But yeah, I like Sean Brady to get it done. My lean is kind of 4-5 decision if I had to pick a prop, but because I do think it takes some time. But honestly, the sub, I suppose, could happen at any point. So give me Sean Brady. I took minus 129, I think, minus 128. So I got a little bit of line movement, not as much as I thought I'd be getting. But former champ, so respect to him at home. But I don't know how much the home crowd actually helps him. Was that staff, guys? What do you think?
Yeah, so that's what Dixon was asking. I'm not going to pull up the picks, but he said that he got treatment for it about 6 weeks ago and that it's all done. If he's not actively on medication, shouldn't really affect him, is the typical thought. So I'm not really worried about that aspect of it. And if it is, that's just the fight game. You always have to think there could be the unexpected, but it's not a be-all, end-all. So I wouldn't read too much into that, especially since it's been addressed. And yeah, so, maybe you should be an accentologist. Okay, Dixon. What up, Ryan? Hope you've subscribed. Thank you for joining us. Now, I don't know. I feel like I got to go the other way here, Guru. And I hadn't placed the bet from when you had told me. And I opened the app. I was like circling the line. I nearly placed it. And I was like, you know what? I got to come back to this. I got to look at the stats. I got to look at a little tape and I got to really consider some things. So that's it. I know it's the moment you've all been waiting for. We're going full screen. So on paper here, yeah, Brady throws a lot more volume. He's going to land at a higher differential. He's given up 2 inches of reach, 4 inches of height. Edwards is the southpaw stance here, which I think is also another nice advantage on the Edwards side. Also, he's a much more diverse striker, whereas Brady's kind of a headhunter who can throw some calf kicks. Edwards throws a lot more body shots, and that's something that Brady hasn't typically had to deal with. Now, catching kicks could be an issue for Edwards, but he's got a pretty clean boxing game, and in the clinch, he separates really well and usually lands damage as he separates. So if Brady's not successful with his takedown attempts, he will be paying the cost on the break. The other part that stands out to me is even though Brady lands at a much higher pace, he also absorbs a lot more strikes per minute at distance. So when you see that, like, the only person that Bilal Muhammad has fought and went to a fight that didn't go the distance with was Sean Brady, and he's just kind of not looking good from distance, man. He's in Saudi Arabia.
Come on, dude. Yeah, it's a weak stoppage.
Well, at the end of the day, he still, regardless, would have been 50-45 or 50-44 by the end of it if there was no stoppage.
I mean, it was a 3-round fight, but if you're going to make them fight 2 extra rounds, then I guess so.
Well, make them go 2 extra rounds if I want to, okay? I make the rules here. But ultimately, yeah, I get it. Sean Brady does have that one path. But let's not act like Leon Edwards wrestling isn't something that he's used offensively in the past. And we have seen Sean Brady slow down.
Yeah, because that would be a really good idea for Sean Brady. Why don't you start wrestling?
Well, yeah, when he starts slowing down and nearly dies in round 3 versus, who is it, Maverick Mike? Sean Brady was looking really bad at the end of round 3 there. So if we're talking 5 rounds, if we're talking Leon Edwards has been 5 rounds a bajillion times. And yeah, he can use his wrestling. I get that you don't want to do it early, but this also isn't fully washed Gilbert Burns on the other side. And I had to have my leg fully twisted to be on the Brady side in that fight. I can't have it happen here. Edwards is only 1 year older than Sean Brady. He has a vastly better depth of experience. He's the southpaw striker. He's got a height and reach advantage, and he's got a way better experience advantage. And he won 2 rounds against Bilal. That wasn't a wash. Like, it's a couple moments away from going Leon's way on the decision. And yes, he clearly loses, but that fight also takes place at like 3-6 in the morning British time. This time it's a little bit more like standard time over there. And Brady, he's the one traveling. And yeah, last time, the only time that he lost, he was on the road. Well, here he is on the road again, and now it's the main event. So I get it. He had a little experience against Gilbert, but wasn't that in the Apex?
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's in the big cage against the southpaw striker that's going to be able to avoid his biggest strikes because it's just boxing and calf kicks. That's not enough for Leon. And then when he goes for the takedowns, he's going to eat damage. And I get that nobody likes Leon Edwards, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know how to win a fight. So Big Steve, I'm going to need you to come in here and how do you break this one down?
Nice. Some good breakdowns. Also, didn't expect to start with the main event, but there's nothing wrong with that. Just something different. All I took away from those breakdowns is that Guru could potentially be a racist, but that's for another time.
I've been on this pedestal for years. Thank you.
Probably true. And I mean, it's a tough one for me to get a read. I know it feels like really basic. Like, yeah, Sean Brady can wrestle Leon, like Kamaru and whatnot, but I don't think it's that simple. Brady, his whole career, he's always kind of dropping rounds here and there. Dropping round 1 to Ismail Naudiev, dropping around to getting dropped by Jake Matthews as well. I think round 3 to Court McGee, obviously round 3 to Chiesa. It just takes a little bit to get going, right? I was impressed that he 50-45 Gilbert Burns. Sure, he might be washed, but traditionally a very hard guy to grapple. Like he's built a career on out grappling others on his way to the top. Woodley, and he's getting taken down Woodley with ease and things like that. So, yeah, he was just hitting some takedowns on Burns and getting out of reversals and scrambles. So I was like, well, I didn't really gas, didn't really gas in a 5-rounder. He had a 5-rounder early in his career in Fury, I think it was, against Hakeem, CFFC, same thing. But, yeah, I think you could potentially see some improvements from him. He's 32, not that old, but had that surgery for the nose. So, it could be like a DDP thing, maybe. But, yeah, I think Leon, I'm not really impressed with Leon and his style, but he is a competent grappler. Like we've seen, he was the first person to take Kamaru down straight into mount. He took old mate Kobe down, took Bilal's back twice, I think it was, in 2 different rounds. Yep. But I don't like the fact that he also chooses to grapple, So I don't know where I'm at. Like that's the low IQ that he showed to me, like constantly grappling. I think if he tries to grapple with Sean, it's just going to end up in a reversal and a back take. But I'm a betting man, and this price wise in a 5-rounder, I can see Leon at least early landing a couple of head kicks, straight lefts from southpaw, maybe stuffing a takedown or 2, just because Sean likes to lose the first early rounds, and then maybe we get a better live line. But right now, if Sean is the favorite, it just feels accurate. Like, is he just going to steamroll Leon? He's going to look massive value at this price. I don't really know. I'm thinking maybe play the over instead, but I could see a sub. I know Leon has literally never been subbed in his entire life, but yeah, I think Sean Brady is very good at his submission offense game. So yeah, I'm passing at the moment. It's a tough fight for me. It feels maybe potentially, well, that's a lot of uncertain words. Maybe potentially back to back. It feels a bit accurate,
perhaps.
Yeah. Perhaps.
Honestly, when you look at these stats, dude, TB, look at the control rate, right? I mean, Sean Brady is spending 89% of his fights in control time. Is that what I'm control rate in the clinch? Or I'm sorry, 89% of the time when he's on the ground, he's in control. No, yeah, exactly. 41% of the time he's in control position. So that means 89% of the time when he's fighting, he's grappling.
No, it's okay. So for every 5 minutes total fight time, Brady's in control for 2 of them, so that's 40%. And then when there's grappling in a fight, 89% of the time he would be controlling that sequence.
Right. So if you're spending 40% of your fights in control positions, that's major elite level status. When you see somebody like the average you expect to see is 20%, which is where Leon is. Yeah. So I mean, when you're that elite at something, and then when you want fucking Leon Edwards to strike, and you look at his distance significant strike differential per minute at distance, and he lands a half a strike. Are you fucking kidding me? He doesn't throw anything. And that's his big problem.
What?
If Leon Edwards had volume, then I could see it.
He doesn't have a strike more than his opponent.
Right. which is not much when you're supposed to be at a striker that doesn't have power, doesn't knock people out unless you're head kicking them when you're lucky. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I just don't see it. He needs a volume-based decision, and he doesn't have power. And I don't see him spending majority of this fight at distance.
I think Leon has power. I think if you watch his career, it's pretty clear that he's boxing.
I mean, I think he's a sharpshooter. I think he's accurate. I think hitting somebody in the right spot is what can put people out more often than not than the just vicious power.
So you're making my points for me, though, is that he's a slick striker that's willing to pick his shots and be careful. So I don't think he's just going to throw wildly and give up a double leg out of nowhere. Like, it's going to take a lot of work to get him down. He does stuff the initial takedown well, but to your point, when he does end up on bottom, he can struggle there. Sean Brady, he's going to need to use the fence to his advantage for his takedowns.
66% takedown defense. 25% of his fight time in his career is being spent being controlled.
Yeah, he's fought some really good fighters too. People a lot more proven than Brady as well. But I get your point. I get it. There is a path to victory. I just would never want to play the favorite in this.
You're right. And a favorite, you're right.
And a wrestler that doesn't do damage when he gets on top, and then he's not going to be the better striker, you're banking on him to have 15 minutes of control in the fight as a favorite. From a money
line perspective, I think you're right. But we've honestly beat up this fight. Jesus.
Yeah, we're moving on. All right, we've got a Polish power, Jan Błachowicz, plus 240 versus Black Jag. 60% of the time it works every time. Black Panther. Carlos Ulberg, minus 298. I mean, Ulberg's going to be 8 years younger here. He's got I think it's going to be Jan actually has a 1 inch reach advantage. Ulberg's going to be 2 inches taller. Both orthodox fighters. If anything, I mean, Ulberg should be the way faster guy. I don't think he's going to be able to land calf kicks cleanly. Jan Błachowicz is one of those guys. I mean, his checking game is absolutely elite, and that's what gives guys like Israel Adesanya the most difficulty when facing him. Not even just the control rate, but you can't just land easy calf kicks to win points against him. The good news is that on the Carlos Ulberg side, well, he's also got them hands. So I think, even if he's not able to land kicks and Błachowicz is able to close a little bit of the distance, Ulberg should be the faster guy to land heavy hands on the counter of Blachowicz kicks. And Błachowicz coming off of double shoulder surgery, he's 42 years old. We've seen him have some sketchy moments with, not being in his best shape against Glover Teixeira. Like, he tapped immediately before anything was ever really in. And, let's just say I'm sure he's coming back. He's fighting hard. It's like a Vettori situation. He's been out 2 years. He had major shoulder surgery. Well, wait, he had 2 shoulder surgeries on each shoulder, and he's this old. Man, there's just the plus money probably couldn't be big enough to get me there to take him in this spot, because he's going to need extended wrestling time or an insta sub to beat Ulberg here. And in that case, I would just take Jan inside the distance, because I don't think he's winning a decision. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to consolidate extended periods of control and stuff. And I'd rather just say it's Ulberg round 1 or 2, or you could just pass on the fight as well. Like, you don't have to have action on this one. It's probably priced appropriately from a money line perspective. The under 2.5 at plus money in a light heavyweight fight is super interesting to me.
That's so funny. We are on just opposite sides today. I like the over here, and I like fight going the distance at minus 110. I just think that it's going to be a pitter-patter striking contest. I think that they're going to respect each other's power, and I think it's going to be a kickboxing. I don't think anybody's grappling. Maybe there'll be some cage pushing and some clinching, but I think it takes some time. When you look at Ulberg, the big knock on him is, like, of course, like, who's he fought, right? I mean, you just watched him. We did pick Volkan Ozdemir as a dog versus him, which was a terrible pick. But the fight goes the distance. In a fight that everybody expects 2 people to kill each other, nothing happens in terms of that. Okay, he kills Alonzo Menefield in 12 seconds. Why? Because Alonzo Menefield runs face first, hands down into him. Just, here I come. Dead. Submits Dawoon Jung with 11 seconds left. Had to get the referee with the cameras to roll it all back. I remember betting the finish on that. I couldn't even believe we got it. That was crazy. And then other than that, he's finishing guys that don't belong in the UFC, and 2 of them that I don't believe even are anymore, by round 1 finishes. And you still go back far enough. The decision versus Fabio Charant, hilarious. The Buffalo. So I just think that this takes time. When you look at how Jan's been finished, I don't know, like a prime, near prime Thiago Santos, fucking on all the roids, and then getting subbed by old man Teixeira. I just think it's a different skill set. So I understand TB's idea with the round 1, round 2 on Black Jag if you're going to take him, but I don't know. I think he could win a decision. He lands, if you look at the stats, he lands more volume than Jan. So
he certainly could. He certainly
so
could.
Yeah. So I just don't.
Points. You make valid points. My initial impulse was to pass, though.
Yeah, I get it. I was really wanted plus money on fight going the distance, but it doesn't look like I can get it. I mean, yeah, it looks like the line is honestly increasing. Minus 118, minus 125. I guess I'll take minus 110. So I just think it takes time. You're not killing Jan Blachowicz on the feet nice and quick and easy. I think it takes time if you're going to do it.
Yeah. Steve?
Is it me? Cool. If I didn't have that Volkan fight, I might be more tempted to fade Carlos Ulberg because he's not really beating anyone good, and you kind of want to see him go to a decision. Da Wang Zhang is probably like the bottom of the barrel guy that he can go to a decision with, but Volkan, I think he's still a decent fighter, and yeah, he showed that he can do it. It was a 30-27, I think, right? So it just exploited the speed advantage, and I think Jan is just as slow, if not slower than Volkan, but Jan is much better of a striker. I hate the guy. I hate the guy's guts. So hopefully he gets slumped face down. But I do respect his, how good he is with like 5 minutes of cardio, how he can just shut down elite striking games and just stay really safe and check kicks and then get his own offense when it's only like calf kicks and jabs himself, So I respect it. So I don't know. I do tend to not really like anything at the moment. Like Carlos was minus 200. I know some people absolutely smashed that. That could have got some money out of me just because of the injury stuff and the layoff. He basically just has to avoid not getting cracked by Jan, I think. But yeah, Jan's fought some explosive guys, man, like Pereira and Rakic, and held his own. And Rakic, obviously went for takedowns, but will Carlos wrestle? It could be a little bit sweaty if Carlos doesn't wrestle. But people said it takes a while to knock him out. He that fight with old mate Santos was going to a 5-round decision, and then he's like, "I'm losing this fight. Time to rush in." And then he rushed in and got countered. So, hey, if he rushes in the first 10 seconds, I reckon Carlos could catch him like that. But I think they're going to be patient. So
I think the double shoulder surgery speaks to that as well. He's gonna be tentative. He's gonna want to take his time and settle in. And I don't think that Ulberg, knowing the importance of the situation, is going to do anything too crazy. Because if Jan's good at anything, he's good at countering.
Yes, I will say, whoever said the under at plus money, has my attention a bit.
Yeah.
Because Ulberg and Jan unders at plus money, it's a little bit tempting, but I might just play the under 1.5 because the over 1.5, $1.38. It's like, for these two guys, it's just a bit crazy, isn't it? Like, yeah, Jan knocked out Reyes a little bit over the 1.5. Corey Anderson in under, Luke Rockhold in under. Like, just from a pure value perspective, you don't have to know how the fight will play out.
I think if it goes over 1.5, I feel great. You're telling me we have 7.5 minutes of the fight? You think it's gonna get finished?
Oh, you mean it goes the whole way?
Right. Yeah. I think if you like the under, again, TB with his whole breakdowns, like, I like Ulberg 1-2 if you're gonna take him. I'm like, it's kind of the same idea, right? If he fucks up, he probably gets clobbered early. Otherwise, it's going to be a striker's delight decision. Yeah,
I feel like the under 1.5. It just kind of reminds me of the Menafield fight as well. I think that was quite a generous under. It might have been Pick'em or something. Oh, that was plus money too, wasn't it? I think
it was at least Pick'em. I think you're right.
Yeah. It's a weird fight. I'm definitely not really feeling Jan as an underdog, so I'm passing it to that.
Imran's with me, under 2.5 plus 110. Just saying, it also covers the Jan by body kicks or Jan by bullish power. But I feel you. I mean, sometimes the best players are the ones you leave unplayed. So I think I might have to pass on this one. All right, next fight we've got Goonie, the Gunnar, Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin the Trailblazer, Loudmouth Holland. Who you gonna call? It's Batman solving crimes himself. We got -130 Gunnar Nelson, +110 Kevin Holland. This is an interesting one, and I think notable that Holland is making the cut back down to 170. Notable that Gunnar Nelson's coming off another couple-year layoff here. His last couple wins, March of 2023, he beats Brian Barberena. March of 2022, he beats Takashi Sato. Here we are. It is now March of 2025, so we've skipped last year. But here we are 2 years later, and Gunnar Nelson back in a UFC Fight Night card in London. And what happens if he doesn't get the takedown here? Kevin Holland, it seems like his initial takedown defense has at least improved by some measure. And the fights where he's had the most difficulty have been with, bigger guys at 185 being able to just hold him on the mat. And I mean, Khamzat Chimaev, that's a whole other beast. So getting tapped out there, Reiner de Ridder, a guy that's fought at heavyweight and light heavyweight, getting kind of strangled out by guys like that is a little bit different to me than when you're dropping down to 170 and you're losing to faster strikers like Jack Della. Now you're facing a 170, a karate style striker, but Nelson lands absolutely zero volume. I mean, this guy is, you talk about Leon Edwards being low volume. I mean, Gunnar Nelson takes it to a whole other level. He actually lands, I think, half the strikes per minute at distance that Leon Edwards does.
That's honestly not good enough. It should be a third. The dude literally doesn't strike. He doesn't really want to strike. That's so bad for Leon Edwards. It's not enough. That's actually really funny.
All right. So anyways, Kevin Holland here, I think it's clear what he needs to do. And the fact that he's going down to 170 to do it, he's, I try not to read too much into the socials, but he's acknowledging he kind of owes his fans a win. I mean, he's been getting in there to fight a lot and doesn't seem to care about the result as much as the paycheck. He seems to be acknowledging it would be pretty nice now that he's 1-4 in his last 5 that maybe he should focus on a win. And he's getting another old guy here. And these are the type of fights where Kevin Holland typically is able to beat up on the old guy. Use his length, use his reach, use his speed, avoid the takedowns. And if he does get taken down, I'm not necessarily convinced that it's an insta-sub for Gunnar Nelson. This is a guy that spends 12 minutes of control on Takashi Sato and doesn't get a submission. So Kevin Holland, he knows how to defend a rear naked choke if he's not hurt. If you're way bigger than him and can get him in compromised positions and just get a big squeeze, well, that's never been the guy that Gunnar Nelson is. It's way more about the technique and position over submission. And, if you're facing guys, Brian Barberena, that's going to happen. Alan Joban, guillotine. Tumanov, come on. Brandon Thatch, Zach, come on, guys. What are we doing here? I get it. Kevin Holland is not necessarily in the best of favor with the UFC fans at this juncture. But I just think that Holland's going to be able to fight the fight on his terms. It's a larger octagon. He's the way longer guy. He's very precise. He should be faster. And if Nelson's just going to want to play, I don't actually want to fight and I want to stay at distance, well, Holland should be able to land just enough leg kicks and jabs to make the fight work on his terms. So it's disgusting. I don't necessarily feel the best about it, but this is the first money line play I could give you on the card. I got to go Kevin Holland here. And I took Reiner de Ridder at plus money last fight. I took I was going to take Roman Dolidze and I fucked up there and I didn't. So I would like to apologize for that. But I've been very willing to fade Kevin Holland when the time is right. I don't think the time is right here. Guru, what do you think?
I hate it, but I guess I'm on the Kevin Holland side too, in that I do think that size and athleticism and cage rust do play into effect here. The showmanship of Kevin Holland, I don't think he's as useful to the UFC as a guy that, hey, I'll fight 5 times a year. It's not interesting if you lose all 5 fights a year. You don't get to keep your job, right? So it's fine to lose to the Hamzat Chimaevs and the Jack Dellas of the world, even the René de Rieters. But you do have to win a fight occasionally, and I think that this is a decent chance for him to do so. Kevin Holland, right, has not fought. I mean, Kevin Holland. Bryan Barberena, as you said, has not fought in a while. Every time he takes a big step up in competition, he loses.
You mean Gunnar Nelson or?
I'm sorry. Thank you. I said Leon. What did I say?
Leon? You said Bryan Barberena because that was his last opponent.
Wow. Okay. I'm tired.
Best.
Work. Yeah. So, okay. Gunnar Nelson has, every time he takes a step up in competition, he seems to lose the fight. 2019 Gilbert Burns, which is hilariously only 2 fights ago for him. A split decision with Leon Edwards. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah.
It wasn't a split though. It was a clear 29-28.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Maybe
Leon
even
30, 3.5 minutes of control on him, notably.
Oh, yeah, a guy that's really willing to lay off his back and go for submissions. Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, all right. Santiago Ponzinibbio, round 1 knockout. That's prime Pons. Losing to Damian Maia, the split versus Rick Story, who's a late Leon Edwards type. Yeah, I just dog money and a coin flip. You know, I'm always trying to double up. So that's kind of how I see it. It's really that simple.
Cool. Do you guys introduce me, or do I just go when you finish? Because I'm not too sure.
Oh, you go now. It's up to you.
You do whatever you want to do.
No, Guru's doing a terrible job as a host segueing here.
Is that my job?
Supposed to hand off the mic.
The last two, there was like a slight silence.
That's me, because I should probably go, and then I should just I guess we haven't discussed that, TB. I should just do that always. I'll just hand it off.
You typically do. I don't know. You also said Bryan Barberena instead of Nelson, so it's okay.
All right,
I'm good at spotting the silence, but it's just like I don't know. Do I? Because you introduced Guru.
You're allowed, if you want to, if there's anything you ever disagree with, it's a chronic combat conversation. So you're allowed to interject at any point.
That's to you, Big Steve. Yeah.
I don't like interrupting. I don't know if you've noticed. So I'll let the boys chat. But I will interrupt you if you say something square, which I don't think you've had just yet. So.
Hey, all right. So what are you thinking on this one?
All right. So this one, it just feels like a shit show fight, man. Like Kevin Holland in general is just volatility. I hate the guy. I hate how he fights, and I mean, I like fading him. But Gunnar Nelson, you had that 2 years off, and his fights, I don't think he has a good win in entire of UFC, other than Albert Tumenov. I will say that's aged gracefully, but to the people that don't know who Tumenov is and that he's the current ACA champion at 23-6, then probably doesn't mean much to people. But yeah, I mean, he can take down and submit anyone, I guess, including Kevin Holland. A few years ago, I wouldn't say that. I thought his black belt was quite decent. It was more so impressive that, what's his name? Brandon Allen was the only guy to submit him. But yeah, now he's getting submitted quite frequently now. So maybe I'm a bit off that, train. Yeah, just a shit show fight. What I don't really mind this under 2.5 rounds. I wish it was a little bit better. $1.62. I honestly expected something more juicy. I don't think Gunnar has a iron chin by any stretch of the imagination. I think he was dropped by Rick Story as well in that fight that he lost as a massive underdog and massive favorite, -370. I remember that back in the day. He's got the hands low. Yeah, that's an interesting line. I did watch the Leon Edwards fight, and he got dropped badly there with an elbow as well. For whoever said Leon doesn't have any power. But it's got some potential. I just have to go deeper and see: is it a square under? Is it like zero value there? Is Gunnar just gonna do what he did against Sato and completely kill my pick'em submission line? Which people make fun of, but I still think that had value, that submission line. If you have 15 minutes of back control against the guy that's been submitted by Bilal Muhammad.
Yep.
No one else has submitted. Bilal's not submitted anyone else. But yeah, the under. I like the under, and good luck to anyone brave enough to play Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland by KO could be cheeky. What's that?
Yeah, that's
wow.
Yeah, that is the idea here. I think we've seen Nelson hurt multiple times. He's been knocked out before. Holland has hurt and knocked out old guys plenty. And he's knocked out a guy that's knocked out Gunnar. Not to do MMA math, it's just I think at plus 370, I mean, come on. It's worth it.
See, let me interject there. I was on that one. I was super surprised by the plus 150 Holland inside the distance when I thought Ponzinibbio was extremely washed.
Yep.
And then he comes in with a broken right hand, which is what I was relying on, and doesn't throw it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then luckily he was good enough to knock him out with his left hand. But I was like, man, you just can't bet on this guy because he's willing to fight with a broken hand. And it just completely throws your bets out the window, He's probably had a rib injury when he stepped in against the Leeds as well.
I was just going to say the same thing. Great point.
That did not look like a normal injury from an attempted pass. So you don't even know with this guy. Maybe just better more bullish for the under 2.5 if he has an injury or something.
Glimba, what's going on? Appreciate all you guys, all you sickos that are here joining us instead of watching March Madness, or if you're doing it at the same time. Can't tell you how much it's appreciated. We love coming out here, bringing the content to the people. So the fact that you guys are joining us in the chat, all you guys are amazing. We're moving on. Molly Meatball McCann, plus 170 versus Alexia Burkesinia Thainara. I didn't do the research on the translation, so I'll do that shortly. Minus 205 on the Thainara side. Looking at the opener on Bet Online, I texted Guru immediately and was like, hey, does that Thainara plus money exist? Because I would like to touch. Unfortunately, as much as I was tempted to touch, I did not get the opportunity. So here we are at Thainara minus 205. And yeah, I mean, I think she's outclassed Molly on paper in just about every department until you're like, well, short notice, debut, enemy territory. And I mean, as much as I could think like Thainara by sub would be a potential thing, then maybe that is the thought. But I mean, come on, man, minus 205 debut here. I just think that the market has it priced correctly for if this was like Apex, they're making Molly, come out to the States. But something tells me if this fight doesn't end inside the distance, we're probably seeing McCann winning just from a debut stunt. Thainara not having as much striking success as she might hope against an aggressive fighter. Maybe her takedown game not working as much as we would project, but I think she should have her beat out in the grappling, the athleticism department. And McCann's given up a serious amount of reach here, like 5 inches, even though she's going to be the taller fighter. I think Thainara should have her covered. There's just nothing in me that wants to play this fight. Unders could be super cheeky though, plus money. I'm a little bit interested. Molly by spinning elbow, Thainara by submutilation. Could happen either way. Guru, you got anything interesting? Muted.
What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, I must have clicked my screen. So I don't really want to play this fight at all. I don't really have too much of an opinion per se. Short notice, like you said, for a Dana White Contender Series debutante is a tough spot. Main carding a pay-per-view is again and also a tough spot. You've seen time and time again. They put people like Eric McConaughey or whoever the hell onto the pay-per-view spot. I know he wasn't, but there was somebody else that night who was making his debut. The Miller. No, what's his name? Juice Box. That was the guy.
The Juice Box.
The Juice Box. Thank you. Walker made his debut on, main card of a pay-per-view. They don't care about them per se in that respect. I think, like you said, Thainara is the better fighter. Molly's been subbed enough that Thainara by submission at plus 470 on FanDuel is interesting enough that I would say you kind of got to play a grandma's couch cushion on that. Which Big Steve, I don't know if you know, but that's the play that you take when you dig into grandma's couch cushions and it's the change between the sofas that nobody's even going to miss.
Makes sense.
Those are the fun ones, right? You're not even a quarter unit. You know what I'm saying? These are untracked. Nobody's going to miss this. Nobody's going to know the difference. But we
don't have to tell grandma,
right? But when they hit pretty nicely. So honestly, I'll even scrimp it another bit. You ready? I want Thainara round 1, round 2 submission. Because if it gets to round 3, she's had 0 round 3 submissions. Yeah. And if it gets that far, I don't like it anyway. Okay. I'll take plus 650 on the round 1, round 2 sub. And otherwise, I'm legitimately not interested in this fight.
Big Steve. because
I
Guru
got it.
did not.
Yeah, I
pass
did it
out.
again. See, I did like a little mic drop there, though. But
I
you're
know
right.
you
I got
did.
it. I didn't need that much time for that silence. I'm accustomed now. Because once I've clarified it, I'm good. I'm good. You don't have to introduce me.
And you can
I
talk
agree.
over me whenever you want.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my moment. It's all good. I agree with everything. You know, we could, almost an hour and we're not even off the main card, so maybe I'll use this fight to kind of save some time. I don't think Alexia is that good. I don't think to warrant minus 200 on 2 weeks' notice in London against Molly McCann. I don't think Molly's that bad per se. You know, I think her win over Dredd, Carolina, is aging quite well, and Carolina's not a bad fighter, and she was rinsing her from start to finish, up a weight class before the knockout, like in the grappling department, in the striking department. Another really big, tall chick. So, yeah, I just think it's a bit of a recency bias. Will it not have value? I'm not saying it won't. I know some sharp people on the chalk, on the Alexia Thainara chalk, but yeah, I don't think she's that good. I don't think the opponent should be on Contender Series is that good. So I'm just not going to rush to risk my money on a debuting female low women MMA fighter like this. So maybe I can get on Molly. We'll see.
Clear dog or pass, and pass might be the right option.
I should say, sorry, the under.
Yes.
You know, a big plus money under on Molly McCann fights is always tempting, and it should have even hit in the Bruno Brazil fight, which I lost. I lost a bit of money on the similar odds. So she hits those things, man. She hits those things. Whether she gets finished or she finishes, they always have value.
I like the under. I think TB said that to tip off his breakdown originally.
Yep, that's it.
No, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, well, I tune him out. It's a totally. He's got that droning voice. It's okay if you tune him out. He's throwing a lot of numbers at you. He's very handsome. You get lost looking at him. You know, you're just like, all right, I can. All right,
he's redeemed himself.
Yeah. See,
all right, I'm throwing everyone for a loop here.
I'm not just a bully.
Yeah, Mr. Bilal. All right, we've got Jordan, the epidemic Vucenic. He's obviously using his nickname to describe whatever happened to his body in the tattoo shop. Clearly an epidemic broke out. And then Chris, the problem, Duncan, if you chose those type of tattoos, you probably have a problem. So Chris, you also got a good nickname. In this matchup here, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off to Big Steve. What do you think of this one?
Oh, shit. This is the one that I haven't taped, surprisingly. I feel like it's not going anywhere. And I know Vucenic well. I know Duncan quite well. I should say I taped Vucenic just because there's a lot of intertwining fights with Morgan, Charriere, and whatnot. I mentioned on my Twitter, there's going to be a lot of Cage Warriors tape this week. And he's a good fighter, you know, got a good jiu-jitsu game. His striking, I never really rated his striking that much. But, you know, obviously he dropped Guram Kutateladze, which we'll talk about that later. Maybe that's more of a inclination on Guram, the way he's going rather than anything else. And then he lost that fight. He got outdogged. So, you know, that was short notice. But Chris has a good overhand right. He has some power. So I'm not rushing to just, you know, count him out. And he has a grappling game. So, and he's tough. Yes, he's been knocked out. I think that's mainly because he's so chinny and so stiff. Pause. But, yeah, I think probably Vucenic is going to light him up early. But you never know with Chris Duncan, man. I remember people playing Błachowicz, massive favorite line, and then he just hits a guillotine. Like, there's so much. And I haven't even watched that fight. I just saw the guillotine, and I was just laughing because it's like I passed because I could not get a read on the fight. And I don't think we're going to get any better read after those 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Like, the guy is just so... I don't know. This is just... I think he's a Cage Warriors level fighter. And Vucenic, you know, might be slightly better. So, the under seems to be popular. Maybe Vucenic sub. What is that? Let me have a look. And...
took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. We got there first. What do we got? It's a little bit... Plus 220. It's all right, I guess. I think the bookies are on it, but the under is not too bad on Bet365. It's much worse on other bookies, but I think he correlates. Will Chris Duncan be the first one to finish Jordan? Probably not. So I think he correlates with Jordan. So what's Jordan inside the distance? Sorry if this is how I break down my fights.
I love it.
This is great.
Pick him for Jordan. Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh, wow.
Minus money. I'll have to do some proper tape to see if it's worth it at minus money, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, that's what I would say in that idea. I mean, a round one, like Vucenic instead of inside the distance, like Vucenic round one, round two. If we're getting to round three, I don't think Duncan has as much a cardio problem where, he has, like you talked about, just the inability to truly defend himself. He kind of just uses his recklessness to his advantage at times. And I think, Vucenic should be a lot cleaner technically. And in this fight, I don't see him outmatched on that short notice. And Guram, there's a lot of negatives about him, but it doesn't have to do with his skill. He does have a high level of skill. And, if Vucenic almost gets, Guram to slip off of his back, if he does in that point, right near that midpoint of round three, and he ends up in top control or ends up back at distance, we could have seen a different result there. It was definitely 1-1 going into three, and Guram finishes it out with a few minutes of control in a sticky situation. So Vucenic, I just think, he's going to be a way better hustler here, and I don't think you're going to be able to finish this guy. So I think, the line's appropriate. They basically have it capped correctly. It's going to be a puncher's chance for Duncan. And I don't think you could just get a cheap submission. I hate to be like this, but guys like Błachowicz, Musasa, anybody where they don't have a really good regional experience, and then they come in, they're these raw athletic talents, and you face someone that can throw on a choke that's dangerous. They don't know the initial defense to defend it. And those are just the two most recent examples to come to mind, one happening last week and one being Duncan's last opponent. He tapped.
That's
I understand.
No, that's
I understand if I'm being lumped in with the guru right now.
No, we gotta lump Big Steve in there. He's like, oh, I absolutely hate Carlos Ulberg and Kevin Holland. Yeah, I wonder why.
No, Jan, I said Jan Blachowicz. I hate Jan Blachowicz.
You son of a gun.
Putting words in my mouth, but Ulberg's not too far off.
I think we all hate him. He's for reasons. But yeah, Vucenic here, he's probably got him covered. I like that. Instead of even money inside the distance, I would take it a step further to round one, round two. Guru? Question mark.
I think you're basically on it. You guys are both pretty much on it. Vucenic is very offensively well-rounded. I do think that he's UFC level, whereas Chris Duncan is just not very good. He's not defensively sound. He's athletic, sure, and he's got some power in his own right. The sub versus Oki was impressive in its own right. But I guess training an American top team will do that. Shear up some of those grappling holes. I don't know. I definitely like Vucenic here. It's just I'm trying to really decide whether he gets the finish or not. 8 finishes, 5 decisions. Yeah, I do kind of lean towards the finish, and I like TB's idea anyway of the round one, round two, because either Duncan fumbles the bag or he murders him, which I really don't think happens. So,
well, it's also about how Chris Duncan likes to lose. He's typically not losing a decision.
I mean, he gets choked out by Manuel Torres.
And then gets knocked the hell out. And then he's also nearly dead against Charlie Campbell as well.
He was dead. That a different ref stops that fight. I mean, that's crazy. Slava Claus killed him. Yeah, I mean, that's enough for me. The split with Omar Morales. Omar Morales is not a fantastic fighter by any means. Ashmuz is not fantastic either. Vucenic is more talented than both of those guys. So I like Vucenic, and I do think he gets the finish.
Nice.
Your cat agrees as well. I don't know which one it was. But...
It's Phil. I'm keeping him separate from Loki.
Fair enough. Big Steve, did you have any other points on that one?
No, I think we addressed everything. It seems to be the public play is the under there or the finish, so definitely got to look into it.
Sometimes square works,
most of these main cards, the main card fights is where I've done the least amount of tape. So because I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to watch it, so I thought if I tape the bottom part of the card, I can sleep in, if that makes any sense, and then tape the main card. So should be better. I do have a play coming up, boys. Don't fret. You didn't bring me on just to have no bets, so it's all right.
No. Of course. We're here for the fun, and your biggest fan is here. The dog father, freshly moved into his new digs. Glad you could hop in. Yes, we started early to accommodate your goat, so it's okay. Better late than never. We appreciate you being here. Don't worry, you're late, and Yeah, appreciate all you guys in the chat. If you haven't already, throw a like on the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All that stuff is free. If you're crazy enough to throw a donation, why stop now? You might as well do it. Help support the boys. Keep the dream alive. Don't worry, the dream's staying alive no matter what. But it would be nice if you helped out. So if you haven't liked the show, I'm definitely judging you right now. But it's okay. You can fix that right now by doing the right thing. So we're going to move on. We've got the prospect, Nathaniel Wood. What a lazy nickname for a 31-year-old now. That's like TB level of terrible nickname.
That's like Pedro Munoz, the young Punisher at 47 million.
This is terrible. The UFC needs to review these nicknames at a certain point and tell these guys they got to pick some other bullshit because that's crazy. You can't let this guy keep getting away with this. He's passed 6 fights.
He can't keep getting away with it.
I guess. I mean, we don't really have anything else set up. But reach out privately on the DMs, and we could definitely set something up. I wouldn't want to share any private info publicly, but if you're really trying to do it, we appreciate everybody. So, Eustace President, you're the man. Now, if you can help us figure out why we've got such a bad nickname on one side, but then one of the best nicknames ever in The Last Pirate, Morgan Charriere. Yeah, I already addressed this, Guru, while you walked away. So, yeah, in this fight here, man, I come away thinking, Nathaniel Wood is settled into the 145 division at this point. It's not necessarily a big thing. About half of his fights at 135, half at 145. Their stats and like the reach, the age, the stance. I know that Wood has a little bit higher output, but you also have to factor in that he also lands 24% more of his strikes to the legs, which you might land more volume, you might land at more accuracy, but you don't necessarily land more on the judges' scorecards by landing more of the kicks to the legs. It's just not what happens. It's either you affect your opponent or you don't with them. So on the other end of things, Morgan Charriere has never found a split decision that he doesn't like. So looking at the matchup, these guys are so close in so many different departments. Charriere is so talented everywhere the fight goes, except in like putting a stamp on it, unless he's facing like, Manolo, I pierce my titties, zucchini. In that case, he can get the finish. Against Nathaniel Wood, Nathaniel Wood showed some chin issues. This guy's been knocked down plenty of times. He's had to hang on for dear life and start putting his pace on. Just against a guy like Charriere, that's probably going to have the athletic and speed advantage here. Guru, what are you doing over here? I think that Charriere should probably land more strikes. He should avoid any extended grappling exchanges. And I expect him to win a decision. But why would I trust it at minus money for a guy where he's been to 10 decisions? 10 losses, 9 by decision. And he's had 5 decision wins. But of those, there's 8 or 9 of them are split or majority decision. This guy is just every single fight and loss, it's a close one. But it's like Vucenic. That's a great fighter. Jordan Hughes, or Paul Hughes, I'm sorry. That's a great fighter as well. So there's a lot of fights where he's been super close with these guys, but it's for a reason, and I think that those opponents were probably a little bit more difficult than Nathaniel Wood, especially from a wrestling and grappling perspective, and they're bigger guys too. We've seen those guys even fight up at 155, whereas Charriere, he's kind of entrenched at 145, but Wood, I don't think he's really solved his chin issues at 145 watching how Andre Fili's hurting him. So I'll bring the boys back full. What are we thinking here, Guru? Because I'm going to be on the Charriere side. I'm just scared to take him minus money.
I don't know. I have to really decide exactly what I'm doing. I'm sitting with some CLV. I have plus 150 on Nathaniel Wood. And I do kind of lean that way. I lean with his experience. I lean with his output. And that's just kind of where I generally just feel. I think, like you said, the Charriere stat that, he's lost a bunch of decisions, I don't think is fantastic for him in a fight that I absolutely positively expect to go the distance. So that's just kind of where I lean. Again, when in a fight that is going to go to the scorecards, and you've got, I don't care what people say, I don't care what the stats are, you've got 3 people that make the decision that legitimately are not watching the fight. So it's a good chance that, at plus 150, I could get lucky. So I'm going to do a little bit more research to see how I really feel. I'm definitely interested to hear what Big Steve has to say. But at plus 150, I'm feeling okay with my shot on Nathaniel Wood. But if he's this selective and he's got his first bet of the night, I need to know what it is. Big Steve, please.
Well, it's almost like he knew. This is my first bet. It's definitely Morgan. It's definitely Morgan, and I literally locked it in while you guys were talking. When my internet went out a bit, I turned on the Wi-Fi, the VPN. So yeah, I got a little bit over a unit, $600 on Morgan. It didn't feel right going just a unit, just because minus money. I wanted a bit of a better return. And yes, I get it. Minus money, and he's lost a bunch of splits. You will hear everyone talk about that this week. Close fighting, and he can give away minutes, blah blah blah. But ultimately, these guys are the same generation. 29 years of age. I think they're from the better generation of Cage Warriors. Leroy Duncan when he was the champ. Before we had bums in Cage Warriors as champions, and Vucenic and Hughes, all really high level world class fighters. And I think if these guys were in the Cage Warriors right now, I don't think Nathaniel Wood would sniff the title. I think Charriere will beat him. I think Vucenic will beat him. I think Paul Hughes will beat him. I think maybe 2 out of the 3 of them will knock him out. I also don't think he has any good wins in the UFC. Like, who is his best win? Maybe Charles Jourdain, or maybe a washed Andre Fili, where he got dropped in 2 separate rounds. I actually had money on Fili. I taped that fight so much, and everyone's like, I wouldn't play him. It's in London. But I'm like, man, the size, the power, the chin issues. And he hurts him round 1. He hurts him round 2. Almost knocks him out. The round 2 drop was really bad. And yeah, he still wins, which pretty much just Fili threw away round 3. He didn't do anything. It was 1-1 going to the third. But he also had moments against Fili, because Fili is chinny too. So Charriere isn't. Charriere has very good durability. I think he has all the finishing upside. The hardware's on his side. Yes, he can be a little bit competitive because he likes to be technical and striking, but he gets a lot of moments. Wood gives up a lot of moments. Wood also gives up a lot of bottom time. He's taken down 4 or 5 times by Naimov. Taken down. He didn't get taken down by Fili or Pineda, but he got reversed, and he stayed on the ground for all 4 minutes against Pineda. Maybe he knew he was 2-0 up, so he just decided to chill. But he definitely spent the rest of round 2 on bottom against Fili when he lost the back control. And yeah, Naimov, man, took him 4 or 5 times down. So yeah, I don't think he has any good wins. Yeah, Fili is probably his best win, or Charles Jourdain, which Charles Jourdain notoriously bad at winning decisions, like a bad minute winner. So yeah, I think this is, if Morgan doesn't finish him, then he at least should win the fight more often than not. Should get some moments. He can wrestle, he can hurt him, he can knock him out. So hopefully he looks after those calf kicks. But who knows? We'll see.
I don't see Wood getting extended top control. I will say also, Reg, is in his last fight against Chepe. I mean, Chepe is a way better and way more dogged fighter than Nathaniel Wood ever could or dreamed to be. And you saw how much damage Chepe ate in that fight. Wood would be going down in that case.
Yeah, way more durability, way everything. And I will say Morgan, elite takedown defense and balance, especially early. Man, some of those stuffs that he does, basically does backflips, and the way he shoots his hips back when they're really deep on him, he's a very athletic fighter. It's going to be like athleticism versus IQ and technique.
I love it. Sorry, Guru. We're moving on. We've got.
I might cash out. I could do it.
No, it's because of Guru. It's because of Guru that I was able to get a better line on Morgan. So I appreciate
exactly
people like Guru.
My 2 units. My 2 units. Boom. You don't even know.
$1.75, I should say. So that's a lot of money on Wood. So it's not only Guru that's putting it down. So who knows?
It's true. He's been known to move a line. Yeah, parlay busted Robs. Yeah, no, but you don't have to parlay him. He's minus 140. All right, we've got the Black Country banger. That's not what they're titling this fight. That's Jay Herbert's nickname versus Chris Taco Padilla. Now, with that comes a couple questions. Corn or flour, and soft or crunchy? I'll leave you guys to digest that question as we go over this fight. We've got minus 112 Jai Herbert, minus 108 on the Taco side. There was plus money out there for Padilla for a decent bit of time. if you guys were following us on Pickett, you probably scooped up a little bit with us as well. Yeah, there's just like the unspoken. We talk about this doggedness, this like ability to make things happen, and Taco he's got a way of getting it done. And Herbert, he's just got a way of trying to avoid the action at this stage. And there was a period of time where he was getting into some black country bangers, but now I don't know. He's like a bit timid. He plays a little bit more from the outside. He even uses his own wrestling. Like, we're going to a decision with Kyle Nelson type of vibes. Things you don't love to see. And we love Kyle Nelson, friend of the show. But typically a Kyle Nelson fight, one way or the other, you're going to see some finishes, usually. And that kind of kicked off a stretch where Jai Herbert's going the distance. There's sketchy stuff happening. Yeah, the point deduction against Ludovic Klein, a little bit sketchy here or there. End of the day, though, is that Ludovic Klein is able to get into the hips often. He's just not strong enough to be able to finish. And that's where Klein had like just moved up to 155 also. UFC's like, oh, great. You want to move up weight? We're going to give you the biggest guy also. And we see him have a lot of success since then. But it's always tough making your first adjustment going up. Whereas Padilla, I think he's got solid wrestling and grappling. And maybe it gets a little bit sloppy here and there. He doesn't have the best top control. But he's got the ability to, one, cause damage on the feet, and two, get, into dominant positions and scrambles. So at the plus money, it was a clear choice. And yeah, I really do think, while it could look like a setup fight for Jai Herbert, home country, bringing in the guy who's had two kind of fluky wins in the UFC. Well, Jai Herbert, I mean, I've seen this guy, like, the way he got touched by Francisco Trinaldo, if Padilla lands the right elbow, we could see a flash knockout. We could see a sub off a back take. Something meme-worthy definitely could happen here. So I love the plus money. Steve, I'm going to let you go first this time. Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I thought I would love Taco. I thought I played the chalk on old mate Zurong, and upon retaping it, I was like, wow, I think this is the one dog that's good on this card. And I reluctantly let it ride. Round one looked good, but it just looked like Taco was inevitably going to come into the fight and steal it because Zhu just had no defense. He wasn't checking the calf kicks. I thought Zhu would have the better success with calf kicks. Like, he dropped him, and you see Chris is always getting dropped by calf kicks. So something that Jai could exploit. But Chris also returned it to wrong, and Jai was also getting lit up by calf kicks against, what is it, Padilla? Bedoya?
Yes.
It's like a mixture of Bedoya and Padilla. But Jai's very good, man. You tape him and you're like, all right, this guy's very good footwork, very good striking, like that. I live bet him against old mate, what's his name that you just talked about, the Slovakian guy, and
Ludovic.
Yeah, and I just felt like a bit robbed there. Like, first of all, it wasn't even a low blow. It was literally to the thigh, not even to the inside of the thigh. So Rich Mitchell, one of the worst guys to ever do it. And I felt a bit robbed there, but he's a good fighter, man. Like, just if you can not touch his chin, he will like do well to win a decision against most people. But so it's one of those ones, Jay's going to be like more technical, probably more volume. Chris is going to be, looking for the kill shot, probably going to be getting out-volumed for a bit until he makes his reads. His wrestling is like 50-50. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes he has good level changes. Other times he goes for the cage push, and I don't know if he'll get it. So I understand why this is pick'em. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of ways the fight could end up competitive. And Jai could also take him down. Jai was taking down Ludovic. He took Bedoya down. He's got good sweeps, good trips in the clinch. Oh, so very well-rounded fighter. So I don't know, but my gut instinct is telling me Chris Padilla by KO. Like, if he can get on top, his ground and pound is really, really good. And it's not just because he landed that elbow over a very durable Zhu. He just has very good ground and pound. That submission against Lontop took me by surprise because he doesn't really get many submissions. So he's more so just lays in half guard and throws brutal ground and pound. And Jai has very good submission defense, but we've seen when Moicano took him down many, many times, he was only able to submit him because eventually he hurt him from all the ground and pound shots. Like, he broke him down and then he gave up his back. So I have a feeling like something similar happens. Maybe competitive round one, and then Padilla finally starts to get some top time and then just brutalizes Jai on top.
Padilla by KO, baby. I love it. I'm
It's a
on
good
Taco.
number. Better than I expected.
I'm on Taco for sure. Got that plus money as well. Got TB on that. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, fuck Jai Herbert. Got to do it. I like people with damage. I like people that are violent. Sure, Herbert has had, a decent. I mean, he's like, I say he has power, but the only person he's knocked out. I mean, before coming to the UFC, sure, he had some knockouts, but he's literally, since coming to the UFC, only knocked out Common Worthy, who gets knocked out by his shower head every single morning when he turns on the shower. So I'm just not impressed at all. His best claim to fame is getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria. I'm not interested. He's been alternating wins and losses since 2021. So I'm going to go with Chris Padilla to show him another loss here. And I think he gets it done. I think he's more violent. What's the line on Chris Padilla that I knock out? I'm very curious.
Pretty much pick him.
Is it? No, by knockout?
Oh, no, it's plus 370 on Bet365, which is quite good.
Plus 400 on FanDuel, so I'm quite interested in that. When do his KOs usually come?
1 and 2, I feel.
Yeah, he's got 6 in round 1 and 2 in round 2. So why not maybe get even a little greedier? Plus 550. Not enough to tickle my pickle. I'm cool with the KO plus 400.
Yeah, and I'm cool with the fact that we got some plus money on Padilla with Dogfather as well.
Oh, Dogfather.
Oh, father.
Yeah. I will say, if you don't mind, one more time.
Yes, of course.
A lot of the people that he's finished in round 1 are bums, and he tends to lose, early and then comes on strong. So I reckon round 2. I mean, you look at the last 2 fights that he has KOs. It's Justin James round 2 and Ruzong round 2. It's like like a high level of competition. It's probably going to be 2 or 3.
I can dig it.
Who knows?
I like the analysis. All right,
we got plenty of fights to still go.
We've got Lone Star Kavanagh versus Felipe dos Santos. What an absolute banger of a fight here. 125. So the over 2.5, clearly a minus 270. But then you also have Kavanagh minus 290. It's a bit aggressive in my mind. Now, we did see him fight a guy in Ochoa, same gym, right? Him and Dos Santos both had to shoot the box. But Dos Santos here coming in with a full camp, whereas Ochoa was kind of on short notice, filling in for somebody, making his debut as well. Dos Santos has kind of had the shit end of the stick from having to fight these type of guys in his debut on short notice. Comes up, fights Manel Cop. Then he has that fight against Altamirano where a little bit of a sketchy split there. Not happy with the result as an Altamirano plus money better. But then Andre Lima, I mean, that dude's legit. And we've seen his wrestling is just as good as it gets. So I think Kavanagh, his defense is really not great on the feet. And if he chooses to lean on his wrestling here, he probably has good success with it. I just think this fight probably plays out closer than it has to. And there's no reason for you to parlay a minus 290 at flyweight when the fight goes is like minus 200. I just don't think that he clearly wins at 30-27. I think he's probably the right pick. But I don't know. There's nothing of value. I don't think either guy's finding a finish unless Dos Santos is getting a knockout himself, quite frankly. Because I think Dos Santos is way more proven from a durability perspective than Kavanagh, who I've seen hurt and wobbled against way lesser fighters. I know Ho didn't have his way on the Contender Series because that fight kind of stopped before it even got started. But we picked Antoine Ho. It's for a reason. Like Kavanagh, in exchanges in the pocket, while he has good defense from range because he can manage his distance with his athleticism, he doesn't actually have good head movement or parrying ability in the pocket. So that's where I think like Dos Santos, like Eric Nixick is screaming at Manel Cop, please stop messing around with this guy. Like, why are you playing around from range? Just touch and move. Like, why stay in the pocket and have a dick swinging match? So, yeah, Kavanagh's going to need to be smart here, and I don't trust it at the line. I'm not sure if I'm taking the dog, but if there was something to bet on the fight, that's the only way I could lean. I'm just going to pick Kavanagh, though. So We'll pass.
I think Dos Santos is outgunned in this spot. But I think that the line is quite wide. Like you said, TB, I'm not interested in Kavanagh at this price. He's out experienced at the UFC level. He was how big of a favorite was he versus Ocho? Like a -370, -400 favorite, and he doesn't get the finish either. It's just not a fantastic look. So I'm not rushing to the window. You look at Dos Santos, and he has almost all the makings of what you'd want to place money at a +235 on. I don't know that I can get there, right? Losses to Manel Kopp and Andre Lima. Fine. Okay, you're not top 15. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know that. Like, I mean, I don't really take anything away from those two losses in his career. Like, I mean, Manel Kopp on short notice, and Andre Lima, who's very, very good. Him and Josh Van, best top 15 guys that are not ranked currently, in my opinion. My God. So I get it. I'm just not super, super interested or convinced, honestly.
Neither is Phil.
Neither is Phil. Listen, he needs food, but Loki's beating him up, so I got to keep him stuck in here. Like, he's got to decide what he wants to do. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go with a fucking pass, honestly. It's really just a pass. I lean towards the Kavanagh side, like you said, but I guess if I had to do anything, it has to be dog or pass.
Yeah, Felipe Katona does add to the vibes to Lou Betch's point. Yeah, we are paying the tax. This is like the Rafael Cerqueda tax.
And for what it's worth, both guys are tough, right? I mean, neither guy's ever been finished. So,
Steve,
you're right, but a lot of these, like Laron's been dropped a lot, like a lot, and yeah, maybe it's coming, but it's fought some good fighters, man. Silva, Ho, and I think Ho's Ochoa, pardon me. You could make the argument that he's better than Felipe Dos Santos. Like, I would like to see Felipe Dos Santos beat someone good. And I'm not really counting the Victor Altamirano win, which Victor Altamirano, I don't think is cut, but he should be soon enough. No, he is cut. I remember he is cut because I hated his fight with Dos Santos, and I've hated him since, and I was very happy that Barrais got him out of the UFC. So this is like bottom of the barrel flyweights, right? So Felipe essentially lost to him. So yeah, I would like to see him beat someone good because even on the regionals, he's getting taken down, he's getting dropped. He did show a great chin, obviously, against Manel Kopp. He showed some good submission defense against Andre Lima, but Leon hits, man. He hits quite hard. He just absolutely killed Tuan Ho with one punch, so deaded him. So I guess the things that I'm leaning with is either the dog, just because I'm not really feeling parlaying the favorite, untested flyweight favorites. And the under. The under has my attention as well. Where are we at? Let's see it's big number.
+200.
Yeah, it's good. It's a big number. And, Leon was also hurt by Ochoa as well. So he's got power. He can be hurt. Old mate Felipe is a shooter box guy. No defense whatsoever. They come in crazy. He landed a spinning elbow on Lima that kind of stumbled him. Right? Lima does have insane durability. So that's where I'm at. And, yeah, I'll have to evaluate, can Leon actually knock him out? But yeah, there you go. Dog's already on the dog, so.
You dirty line movement boy.
I think the submission could be interesting too. If I'm really getting more aggressive than a money line shot, I would only think finish.
Mm-hmm. I will respond to Lou Betcha. Like, don't we all, Lou? Don't we all love hoes?
I would. Who doesn't?
TV, shut up. You don't love no hoes.
No, you're right. I would. Yeah.
You're a good boy. You've always been a good boy. Even when you had the ability to not be a good boy, you were a good boy.
I am a good boy. Pride myself. Very well behaved. All right, we've got Marcin Nochin, Tybura, +102. The flippy officially happened versus Michael Mick Parkin, -122. When you make your nickname your official name becomes your nickname. Those are the rules. So we follow them here on Chronic Combat.
What are you saying?
His name is Michael Parkin.
He didn't make his nickname Mick and then pull a Bobby Green and change it. He didn't legally change his name to Mick, and his nickname was never Mick. So your point is
What do you mean his nickname was never Mick?
He was Michael. He was Michael the Mick Parkin.
I'm just saying his parents named him Michael. At some point in his life, they started calling him Mick. And instead of being Mike Parkin or Michael Parkin, he has a nickname as his official name on UFC stats. Well, guess what? Your nickname is Michael, young man. God damn it. We have to preserve some standards on this show.
Good Lord.
It's okay with your new location. Send location. We will get them.
No, that's TB. TB's coming. He's the hoe for you. If he's gonna slut it out for anybody, it's for his for his dog father. That's a fact.
My God, I think Guru's just jealous that he's never gotten a piece after all his attempts in life. I'm so sorry you'll never get to touch this.
No, you will never touch this.
Flyweight title fight, yes. Oh yeah, he was probably celebrating St. Paddy's Day. He probably does as well have a partnership with McDonald's.
TB, I have a request.
Yes.
From now on, whenever Marcin Tybura fights, can you please use his Tapology photo? Look at his tap. He's just giving you such a saucy look. It's so great. You might have to pull it up for everybody. It's very funny.
Yeah, but then weird stuff happens on the stream when I load extra stuff.
Yeah. I took Marcin Tybura. I mean, I did not take Marcin Tybura. I took Mick Parkin here at plus money, and I got a bunch down on that. I just think that he's the better boxer, striker. I think he could even get some wrestling going. And to be quite honest, I just think that Tybura is a quitter. He's 39 years old. They're done with him. They're using him to build his name. Parkin's 29. I love it. I'm on the McParkin side. Nothing better than some sloppy heavyweight MMA.
Yeah, it's probably Parkin by decision, though, unfortunately. He'll land a bit
for sure.
Volume. He's going to stuff the takedowns. I think that's the underrated thing about Mick Parkin is that I think he has sneaky good grappling. The type of like overhook, whizzer, reversal he uses on Contender Series. It was what I pointed out to Guru. It wasn't necessarily his rear naked choke that impressed me. It's the reversals that he uses and his like get up game, which showed like even when he's caught off guard by his opponent's attempt, and like you're not going to be caught off guard by the fact that Marcin Tybura wants to shoot a takedown. So I expect him to use a higher level of grappling than Tybura is used to. And like we're talking about, this is a heavyweight that got subbed by armbar from guard against Sergey Spivak. I think we could hilariously see a Mick Parkin submission more even than a knockout, just as a cheeky play, right? As a grandma's couch cushion. But ultimately, I love that we got plus money on the Parkin side. To shout out to the Guru for being on top of that one. If you guys were following us on Picket, you'd be in the same place. Same thing with our friend Taco Padilla. So, Big Steve, is it a trifecta, or are you going other Polish power here?
What the hell is Picket? Is that like Dub Club?
So no, it's free. At least we don't pay anything for it, and we wouldn't ever charge anybody. But basically, it links to your sportbook accounts, and you're able to log in to your sportsbook, and it'll track all of your bets across DraftKings, FanDuel, 365, and it'll show you a calendar of all time, monthly, weekly, daily, of what your profit loss is without you having to calculate. And it just helps out a lot with us being able to track across multiple books because we're always trying to find the best lines. The other thing, you go in there, you click in, and as long as the fights are kind of like listed properly with their names, you can also like Fight Numbers, John Kelly's team. They have a great fight odds, finder, fight prop finder. But that's where, if you want to see our bets as we do them, live betting, props, things you can't find on BetMMA, Picket links to our sports books. So if you want to see what we did on March Madness, all of my dumb live bets on the Knicks, like you can follow all these things. It's all out there. Yes, and there it is. It is spelled Picket. So, yeah, shout out to our Uncle June originator, Shady. What's going on?
Yeah, nice. That's interesting. Cool. I actually did say on my early tease, which is the show I do early in the week with no tape, that I'm probably going to lock in Parkin at plus 115 and just tape it later because my gut was screaming. And usually even without tape, my reads tend to be accurate these days. And I don't know, after tape, I was like, can't do it. I regret not playing him against Jamal Pogues in London in his debut. And that was a completely different fight, right? Pogues is the worst to ever do it. And it was just slim margins. Yes, it was a 30-27, but I thought it was a bit generous to be 30-27. And I think Marcin has quite good volume on the feet. That's what makes him a good fighter. It's not just when he gets the takedowns. It's just that he's competitive on the feet as well. We've seen him against Big Ben Rothwell and Volkov. He was competitive on the feet. He throws some good head kicks. He switches stances, teeps. So he's not like a fat lumbering heavyweight. And he's even outlanded Blagoy Ivanov as well in one of the rounds. So, yeah, I think because Mick Parkin is so, slim margins, he relies on that calf kick and, Tybura switches stances. I don't know. I think this is going to be competitive. And only one man in Tybura has, like, in my opinion, the grappling and the big cardio upside as well. So, yeah, I just felt like maybe I should just play Tybura instead because, the guy's actually ranked. He's got massive level of competition upside. I think he maybe has the massive favorite upside as well if he can get the back late in round 3 or something. He always comes on late in the fights, rounds 2, round 3. But, Parkin, it's like he's younger, he's in his prime. He's maybe not in his prime because he's 29. That's, I think, like 35 is heavyweight prime. And you could say, he's got more power, he's got better durability. I think that's a given. So I just kind of kept going between I can give this guy a slight favorite or I could give this guy a slight favorite. And I just said maybe better places on the card to risk my money, like Morgan Charriere, for example.
I mean, I think also to your point, heavyweights, undefeated fighters have not done so well this year in the octagon, right? It's been overwhelming that they've been losing. So
but I try not to take that into consideration. There's always noise that fits the narrative for your bets, and then you just talk yourself out of things, or you just talk yourself into bad bets because of narratives and whatnot.
It's fair.
It's true. All right, we're moving on. We've got CLD Christian Leroy Duncan minus 575. Andre, I'm going to take a Pulev plus 425. I thought going into tape that I would probably need a little Pulev, the taller guy, gigantic underdog. Leroy, typically not the type of guy to put together like coherent combinations or game plans. But there's just nothing athletically, defensively, danger offensively from Pulev that makes me want to pull the trigger here. Like Petrosian was able to throw big combinations and match the athleticism and speed. Rodriguez was able to offer way more power and a grappling advantage if need be. Whereas Pulev, I mean, I don't really see all the same advantages on his end. And Duncan, I mean, he's just going to be way faster. He's going to be hitting way harder. He's got a longer reach, even though he's the shorter fighter. He is the younger guy as well. So ultimately, I got to go with Duncan, but I'm not 100% sure if he can find a finish here, and that's where it might get a little bit sketchy. But Pulev has been knocked out and in the first round, and Duncan's going to be way faster with attacks that come from weird angles. And, man, you keep on hitting the next thing. And overall, like CLD, he probably should get it done. I just would hate to trust it at minus 575. Guru?
I'm not interested in this fight from a gambling perspective. I had Gregory Rodriguez as an underdog last fight. I had Gregory Rodriguez by decision at plus 600 last fight. I was then got off the Gregory Rodriguez train to get on Jared Cannonier plus money. So I feel like I've had a decent run in terms of that. I don't know. I'm just not interested. Andre Pulev, like you said, not super impressive. Doesn't have a very good level of competition. I mean, it's literally, look at it. 1-3, 3-7, 1-2, lost to a 7-2, 1-0, lost to a 4-0, 4-2, 1-0, 2-1, 38-21, and a 6-2. Welcome to the UFC. You're going to lose versus Chris Leroy Duncan. Congratulations. You're probably getting knocked out. So I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if it's also, Chris Leroy Duncan probably gets it done by finish. So why not? If you're that big of a favorite, you better get a fucking finish. What's the line on him by knockout?
By knockout, we're looking at minus 150, unfortunately. So you probably need round 1, round 2.
Yeah, I actually like that better. What's round 1, round 2 in general? Is it probably minus 150 as well?
Well, I don't have it up on FanDuel because I know you'll yell at me that the lines are
will
probably
yell at
better
you.
there. But what I could tell you is if we look at it on DraftKings, because it's much easier to navigate their layout, Duncan round 1, round 2 is -110. So we're getting into the
There
territory.
you go.
And then round 1, round 2 knockout is probably even better.
I'm cool though. I'm cool.
-110.
He could sub him. I'm cool with that.
I don't know about
It's
that.
unlikely, but he could.
I mean, he only has one sub in his career.
Yeah.
And Pulev has never lost by sub.
Right, but he smells.
I guess. Well, Steve, what could you solve this one? What do you think?
I will give you some advice on that if you need help. It's round 2 if you can't decide.
Nice.
Because I went super in depth, and I picked Christian Leroy Duncan round 2 versus Claudio Ribeiro, and it was a good payout. It basically just takes round 1 off. And these are like bottom of the barrel guys, Dennis, Claudio, and he still takes till round 2 to knock him out, even as a massive favorite. And even, guys that he should be able to knock out in the first round. So, round 2 if you can't select. Even Will Curry in Cage Warriors round 2. He just kind of does stupid shit for the first 5 minutes. So, but yeah, I'm the same boat. We'll skip this one. I won't take too much time. I thought I would like Pulev. I liked him as an underdog on Contender Series as well, so I thought people are underrating him a bit, but the tape just left me feeling like he's a bit frail, a bit hittable, at a massive athleticism disadvantage, and probably someone that Christian Leroy Duncan can meme, with his stupid spinning shit. But yeah, I mean, that's all the only thing you can play. You can't parlay him or anything.
I got a -105 round 1, round 2 on FanDuel. If you're a little interested, I'm gonna be so salty if I lay a unit on that and watch him be a fucking loser and win a boring decision.
What's round 2, round 3? I just out of curiosity.
Oh, you've tickled my pickle, Big Steve. Round 2, round 3 KO is because we don't have the round 2, round 3 grouping by itself. I have yet to find any book. I have access to 9 books. No sports book offers that. Only FanDuel will offer it with the specific method in there as well. So round 2, round 3 KO for Chris Duncan is +220.
That's nice. He almost Tellulian almost made it to round 3.
Tellulian.
Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely the way I'm leaning. The more I'm talking about it, get on some sort of inside the distance props.
I like it. I love it. I want some.
The one cat is trying to spinning back fist the other cat, in all fairness.
Yeah, that's fucked up. If you can, you go. That's fine.
All right, we've got Mama B, Shauna Bannon versus Pooja Cyclone Tomar.
Really, I need to hear what Big Steve has to say.
I agree, but what I will say is Pooja, my brother in Christ, Tomar, she is very much into the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and she'd like to tell you all about it. But anyways, yeah, Big Steve, I'm very curious. What do you got in this matchup?
That's funny. It's funny that I spent way too much time taping this fight, even to the point of looking at Shannon Bannon's amateur fights and whatnot. So I've got nothing to show for it. I don't have a play. It basically, I felt like Shauna's awful, and Pooja, I almost played her against Rihanna Amanda in a debut, but I just couldn't because I felt like there was massive favorite upside if Amanda could get a takedown. Unfortunately, she could not hit one in 15 minutes. I don't think Shauna is the same, but she will go for takedowns, which is what's stopping me here. And she's also good at, as bad as she is, she almost lost a decision to Elise Ardeline on extreme short notice, upper weight class. Yeah. So she is very bad, but despite losing a decision to Bruna Brazil in the fight that she wanted, a 3-round striking distance fight, she lost that kind of fight, which is her advantage. Despite all that, she's still very good at getting minutes, winning minutes. Like she won round 1 against Elise off the bottom, and things like that. She throws ground and pound. She's very scrappy, and she also beat Shane Dyer, who's in the amateurs, which is a really good 7-0 striker girl that's in PFL right now. She's got like 50 kickboxing fights before she transitioned to MMA. She hurt her with a head kick. So I don't know, just the fact that Pooja is so negative and she will just back up and draw girls into her strikes just makes me kind of pass. like is she gonna get like a big counter on Shauna or something, or a sidekick maybe? But Shauna's gonna be playing that same game, and she's a bit taller, a bit longer. We're in UK this time. I think Pooja won at the Apex with her split, so I just think Shauna is a bit of an upgrade from Raina Amanda, who I also faded against Pelita Alencar, and she lost the split there too. She threw that fight away. So she's a girl that throws fights away. But whereas Shauna Bannon kind of has really good round threes, she comes on strong. She might be crap, but she kind of just ekes out rounds. So the fight's closed in, like the line is closed in. It just makes me want to play Tomar even less. But, do I want to play the chalk on Bannon? I don't know. Maybe another live bet. Just a shit show. Really, really low level crap fight. So there's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm not interested in getting involved on this fight either, to be quite honest. I had some early action on Tomar plus 160. I'm out. I'm out. I'm taking my money back for free, and that's just where I'm going to have to leave it. I don't trust either of these girls. I think, like you said, Big Steve, the best angle is just going to be a live opportunity. And Phil, I get it, bud. I know. I get it. So I'm not interested in this fight from anything other than a viewing perspective. TBD, you got something? You got something?
I'm not even interested in that.
No, I'm not. I'm really not either.
Yeah,
I was trying to be respectful.
I think that stylistically, they both. I've heard. I listen to some other shows in my preparations because I like to have an idea if there's anything I missed from a Instagram capping, a fight perspective type of thing. Like, someone's last fight happened. Like, what was the conversation around that fighter at that time? Maybe there's something narrative wise, while you're getting ready in the morning. And a lot of what I heard is that Tomar likes, getting into these aggressive striking battles in the pocket. And the more I take away from her is that she loves skirting around the outside, throwing kicks off of the back foot and trying to stay safe. And when she's forced into the fight with the front foot pressure of Dos Santos, that's where you see her at her worst. But she lands a ton of strikes kind of playing around the outside. And Bannon, I feel like that's kind of what she wants to do too. This is split decision written all over it, and that's the only thing you can play here. And even if it's like the worst split decision price you've ever seen, one, this fight is going the distance, and two, we're not going to have any fucking idea who wins, and they're probably going to give it to Bannon. But as they're reading out the scorecards, as long as they don't say, all three judges, then I'm thrilled. And I think that another important thing to notice in fights where they're not being finished, the judges don't agree on the outcome. Like, not necessarily that it's always a split decision, but there will be like 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28. Like, there's divergent scorecards 1/3 of the time in fights that go to decision. And this one, I think that there's at least going to be one scorecard in the Tomar direction, even if Bannon is the one that gets the win. So, yeah, splitty. And, yeah, Guru, don't pretend. I know you're going to hammer it with me. We'll be having some bangers and mash and playing split decision to start our day. All right. We're getting there. We've got...
Oh, that split decision prop, just so you know, is plus 225, the worst thing it could possibly be.
Yeah, exactly, because it's happening. Like, they know it's happening. Right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a Shauna Bannon unanimous decision.
Fair enough. I mean, you guys all in the chat right now, absolutely elite. I know we have the GOAT Big Steve here. So if you want to be cool like Big Steve, you would throw a like on the video. You'd comment in the chat. You subscribe to the channel. Costs you absolutely nothing. And I love it. This is great. I love all the banter. Yeah, plus 150, no problem back in Pooja. I get it, guys. I get it, but I don't think you have to take a side. And in this fight, we've got Nathan Next Generation Fletcher versus Kaylin the Don Lockran. They knew it was recently St. Paddy's Day, so his job being a leprechaun was over. He's now available to fight again. So Nathan Fletcher here, ultimately, I feel like, he's going to be very reliant on his wrestling, and I don't see why he couldn't have some success again. Now, my issue is Kaylin Lockran, when you even just look at these pictures here, like, it's clear that Lockran's undergone some type of, like, physique changes since these guys first fought on the amateur scene. So I'm very hesitant to play the Fletcher side from a money line perspective. And I also think that at least Fletcher, he has the fight IQ where you trust him to use his best attribute and try to do it so, even if it's failing, he's going to try. Whereas Lockran, I can't trust this guy to fight to a clean game plan, man. If he commits consistently to trying to find a finish against Angel Pacheco, he probably could. We did bet fight goes the distance, so thank you, Lockran, for not finding a finish. Also, in his fight against Jake Hadley, it's very clear what you should be doing, and he just fails to execute a consistent game plan of pressure and takedown attempts. And even as he's failing, he's just so happy to sit at range and box, and that's what he does for a couple rounds against Taylor Lapis until he realizes, oh wait, I just got to go crazy and run at this guy and try to shoot takedowns. So can he just stuff takedowns and box his way to a decision against Fletcher? I mean, maybe. I just don't think he's got good enough IQ to avoid getting into extended grappling exchanges where I think at the end of the day, Fletcher is just going to be one step ahead. And I think he could be 10 minutes of control on his way to a 29-28 heavily contested decision. And you feel terrible if you're betting on either side. So I recommend not doing it. Guru, what would you recommend doing?
Betting all your money on this fight. No, absolutely not. Don't do it. Do not bet on this fight. It's not a good fight. I don't care that it's even a rematch that they from the amateurs, like you said, TB. I'm just super duper very unimpressed. We faded Nathan Fletcher with Zigomantis just based on size and reach. Zigomantis is a fraud. And Kyle Lockran is just a meathead that I just don't even necessarily think that his skill set is going to be good enough here. It's just really it's just the fact that Nathan Fletcher hates striking. Like, he's just not good on the feet. And that I see as problematic, because if for some reason he can't get the takedowns or Kyle Lockran is a little too scrambly for him, I could get really ugly. And that's why I'm just not interested in a play. But it's just, I do kind of expect Fletcher to have the top control in it for it to be just a boring fight. There's a bunch of fights I think you could do a really stupid, degenerate fight goes the distance play because. But I think this could be one of them.
Yeah, I agree with everything. We can take some time since my back is fallen off from sitting down for so long. Yeah, just a competitive Cage Warriors fight. At this line, I would rather hit Fletcher. It's just a gut instinct. Like, I watched their first fight, and I just feel like Fletcher might be the better grappler. I get why people think that Lockran might be the better striker, but I don't think his striking is anything that would make me risk my hard-earned money, because it feels like one of those fights that, yeah, he's the better striker for minutes of the fight, and then Nathan just gets something more significant in the grappling department, and then it's like a clear round. So that's how I'm leaning, but if I got time, I'll go deep into, the amateurs and see how Lockran is off the bottom. But he was the one that was actually more likely to get subbed by Fletcher. He was put in some deep triangles, and maybe if he takes Fletcher down, he will end up in another triangle, because Fletcher just hit one a few fights ago in Cage Warriors against a good black belt. So, yeah, it's just another fight that I don't really want to risk my money with unless I have a better read.
Yeah, I feel you on that one, man. I'm trying to be a little bit more selective. All right, we've made it. We've got Guram, the Georgian Viking Kutateladze versus Kawi Maui Wowie Fernandez. Yeah, well done. I know.
I liked it last time too.
Minus 425 on the Guram side, plus 330 for Kawi. I mean, Guram, even looking at his picture, man. I mean,
isn't his name Kawe?
We're using it however I need it.
Okay.
It could be Kawe.
I think it's Kawe.
Probably. I would like to apologize to Kawe and his people. Minus 425 Guram. I mean, the dude, like, for the amount of time that he pulls out of fights, and just look at like how sickly, like, I know he's very muscly, but like he's pulled out to the furthest extent where, like, Cowie, love handle scouting MMA, would tell you he's got a little extra cushion for the push, but like in a healthy way, right? And both these guys have shown the tendency to slow down in their matchups. I think at this stage, I think Guram is probably the more well-rounded offensive capabilities, where he can mix in his wrestling a bit more and put his pace on people in that perspective, which we see in the Vucenic fight. But he's also very susceptible with his chin as well. We see it regionally before he gets to the UFC, gets knocked down badly. In a fight, he comes back. But, I mean, he's gotten hurt supremely in multiple matchups. And we see him just slow down and get eaten alive round 3 by Elvis Brenner. And I'm scared, man. I'm scared because Fernandez, he's a dangerous striker from distance.
He doesn't have the cardio. He doesn't have the cardio.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I definitely don't like. I'm not rushing to the window to play minus 425 on Guram Kutateladze, who I honestly expect to win a decision here. But
I was going to ask about the under.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't see why not on a certain level. I just think that it's just going to take a crazy shot. It's going to take a highlight to get it done, because finishing Muhammad Yahya doesn't mean shit. The decision with Mark DeCasey kind of means more just being the fact that fight was a grinding type of fight from DeCasey, and I don't necessarily think Guram puts on that sort of wrestling clinic, but he certainly is willing to wrestle and grapple and make it ugly in that regard. So unless you're taking Fernandez by like round 1 KO, because Guram gets dropped all the time, unless you're taking him by round 1 KO, I just think Guram is going to outclass him, outwork him. And he probably, even though with Guram's kind of questionable cardio at times, I think he out-cardios Kawe as well. So give me Guram by decision, but I'm not really interested. Big Steve for the final time tonight. Hopefully not forever.
You never know. I just realized I was muted. I said so many funny things, but oh well. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Yeah, interesting fight, man. I thought maybe the money line is a little bit wide, and then I thought the under was a bit wide. But yeah, you could say it correlates with Fernandez. I'm just feeling like, I know Guram well now, and he's not to be trusted at this line. Doesn't matter who it is. I don't think Brenner is that great, and he dropped the ball there too. I will say he does hold some finishing upside himself. He hurt Gamrot with a big overhand. He hurt Elvis Brenner multiple times. Fernandez has never been finished, just out-wrestled twice in his 2 losses, which I guess is live here. But I will say he's never really fought anyone that could have finished him. And if he has, he's just high-rolled, an early finish. Like the best guys he's fought in LFA, you're looking at like sub 2-minute body kick or a head kick back-to-back. So it's like maybe this guy can be cracked, especially when he's gassy. And then you kind of have, if it's a levels fight, like the odds are indicating, then maybe you have Guram finishing upside, Fernandez early finishing upside. The guy kicks like a mule, like very, very hard. So, yeah, I think it's possible. I'm deciding, should I go with the under instead, or I think the under it's not even a hard question. I just answered it myself. Yeah, I'd rather play the under because it correlates with Fernandez, and then you get a little bit of Guram finishing upside too. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I just have to do a little bit more Fernandez tape just to see has he actually been dropped somewhere. But I know he's gassy, so there's that.
Yeah, he's also got no. Like, I get he tries to work up to his feet here or there, but when if Diakese is surviving the distance exchanges and staying safe on the mat, it's probably a pretty good sign you're not actually a good defensive wrestler or grappler.
I don't know. DeCasey, I think DeCasey, for how much he grinds, he does have elite submission defense. I think he was good in Alvarez's guard as well until he got headbutted.
That's true. That's a fair point.
But I mean, DeCasey's decent on the ground, man.
Yeah, he's not. I never see DeCasey getting like armbarred from guard or anything. He's very physical for his game, the wrestling.
Yeah, I would say if anything, the under. I agree on that point. All right. Yeah, well, definitely. We made it, people. Thank you so much for joining us. Go enjoy the rest of your March Madness experience. We'll see you the same place, slightly different time. We'll be back to our normal 8 o'clock. But, hey, when you got the GOAT, you make it happen no matter what time they need. So shout out to all you guys that joined us live today. If you haven't thrown a like, I'm still judging you at this point, but you can fix that. Just throw a like right now, and then I'll take it back. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Throw us a donation if you've been loving the fact that we're up like I think it's between 12 to 15 units this year. I need to go back, double check on Bet MMA, but we've been giving out some solid picks for the peeps. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll never charge you for it. Check us out in all the locations the guru tells you about. Before we pass it off to him for the proper final exit, Big Steve, thank you so much for joining us. And what do you got to say to the people before we let Guru take it away?
No, it's good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for moving the time for me as well. Very long show. I'll think twice before coming back on because 2 hours is a long time for me to be sitting down. But that's why I stood up before. But no, it's good. It's you guys are not square at all in my opinion. So should be getting some more viewers. But I don't think YouTube really cares about sharp reads. Honestly, it's other things. But yeah, happy to be back in the future. Happy to maybe have you on my show one day when I decide on having guests again. I just put out a Cage Warriors breakdown. So go like Big Brain MMA podcast. And I also have a Discord if anyone cares about a Discord where it's just sharp bettors and no idiots and stuff. So that's in all my links. But yeah, that was good. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Seriously, Big Steve, thank you so much for the time, man. We really enjoyed having you on. Guys, make sure you're going to follow Big Steve over on Twitter. Make sure you check out his podcast over on YouTube. Dude's a legend. Thank you so much for joining us, buddy. TB, my unbelievable co-host, make sure you're following him over on Twitter, Instagram, Picket, Verdict, Tapology, and Better MMA. Got to get him logged into Verdict, that little piece of shit. You can follow me, the Guru Scouting MMA, over on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, Picket, Tapology, and Bet MMA. We will be back next week. There is no sleep for the weary. We are going to continue rolling. There are no weeks off. We're back in Mexico, UFC Mexico City. Brandon Moreno taking on Steven Astro Boy Ursig. Should be a good one. The Assassin Baby versus Astro Boy. Not a bad nickname clash. So
poor Ursig, man.
Poor Ursig, yeah.
It's like what they did to Rakic. You know, he loses to someone, then they give him Jiri. Then he loses to Jiri, and they give him Ankalaev. He's just like trending upwards in losses.
Yep, that's what they do. They try to build you towards a title, and if you can't do it, and they don't really like you, they're like, okay, well, we're just gonna use your name, cast you aside, smash you against whoever we like.
It's almost like they're trying to cut him or something, but who knows?
Could be. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Please come back next week. Thursday, we're back to our regular time.
Nice.
Please come back. Please.